Good morning and welcome to another episode of Levels and Meds with me, your host Jeffrey Azan, right here on the Bridge 99 FM. If this is your first time tuning in, remember you can check the Bridge 99 FM on the entire 99 FM bandwidth. That means 0.1, 0.3, 0.5, 0.7 and 0.9. If you want to see what's happening, you can tune in to our live stream at thebridge99fm.com, or if you're on the move, you can check out our mobile app on the Android Play Store or Apple App Store by simply searching The Bridge 99 FM, all one word. We just heard Up and Go. They had a fantastic show this morning, and later in the day following Levels and Meds, we're going to be having Mama Elise Kelly with Untangle. But for now, 10 to 11, it's my hour. I'm here to share. Well, it's not my hour, it's your hour. And I'm just going to share some thoughts, some tips, some tricks on how we can reach that next level in our life by upping our meds. Today we have an interesting show for you. We'll be talking with a longtime friend of mine. And, we have an interesting background. The first time I met this young man was when I just got into training. And he himself was an intern with a company that I later went on to be a manager at. But we're going to be talking to Mr. Christopherson Nunes. And the topic we're really exploring today is achieving professional success through mentorship. Now, this is a particular topic I can personally speak extensively on due to the fact that I am where I am because of mentors who took a step in my life. And in my career, I've had the opportunity to speak at a number of schools. And I must admit, that is the number one question I get from a lot of students, both at the high school level as well as the university level, which is, can you be my mentor? How do I find a mentor? I need a mentor. In fact, mentorship is so important that we went and did our little research to get the numbers for you. And it shows that there was a study conducted by a company called Gartner and Capital Analytics. And they did a study of about 1,000 employees over a 5-year period. And there were a number of very interesting findings that came from this study. The first one that really struck me was that in a Fortune 50 companies, this is the top 50 companies in the US, well, in the world really, in the top Fortune 50, 100% of the employees took part in a mentorship program. So the top companies in the world, the number one companies in the world, are making time for mentorship. And it goes on, the study went on to show other results such as 97% of people who had been mentored found that it was both a valuable experience and would be excited to they themselves go forward and mentor others in life. We talk about this value of mentorship. We're talking the Fortune 50 company does it for everybody. We're saying that the people who do it thoroughly enjoy it, they gain from it, they earn from it, they develop from it, they want to do it for others. And yet, roughly only 37% of professionals currently participate in active mentorship, meaning actively getting mentorship. So it's one of those things that, it's like eat the fruit and drink the water. We all know it's good for us, and yet very few of us make the time to do it. Very few of us make the intentional effort to get that mentorship into our lives. But we want to change that. We want to, today on Levels and Meds, really give you the steps, the benefits, the know-how, the acknowledgement, the process, the way on how you can go about getting that mentor in your life, how maybe you can be a mentor to others at different stages of their lives. And the whole point of the show is that it's not just a lecture. It's not just me talking. I'm not just a bobblehead, but it's a conversation. And we really want you guys of the Bridge fam and the Bridge Nation to take part in the conversation. And you can join this conversation by hitting us up on the WhatsApp line, which is 876-551-5782. That's 876-551-5782. You can even hit us up on the studio line and join us on the show at 876-676-4996. Today, as we talk about achieving professional success through mentorship. Now, for me, mentorship is one of those things that radically transformed my life. I went through a large part of my life not having a clue what I wanted to do, like many of us do. We kind of go through school, we go through the classes, we get into the university, we do the degree, and then we go, time to get a job. And the amount of people I've met who are in jobs that have nothing to do with the degree they got. Right now I'm being signaled from the engineering booth. We have a young man in there who he has his degree. He's actually a chemical engineer. So I want you to understand, he has a degree in chemical engineering and he's in radio. So his profession, his industry, his co-workers, none of them, not one of them have anything to do with his degree. I likewise, I would consider a large part of what I do these days to be education driven, and my degree is in business. One of my best friends, he has his degree in biochem studies and his business is in marketing. So a lot of us kind of flounder through school until we find out where we want to go in life. And a big factor that can speed up that process in helping us figure out where we want to go is this thing called mentorship. For my own story, I went through life and at 25, I was angry, I was upset, I didn't know what I wanted to do with life. I was throwing my money at a number of ventures. I just knew I wanted to be successful. I knew I wanted to generate an income. I knew I wanted things to work out for me. And I said, okay, let's try it all. And through that process, I got a mentor, somebody who appreciated my initiative, was willing to open up projects to me, wanted me to work on those projects and teach and enhance my existence. And from that experience, we, over a 3-year period, learned a lot about each other. And then they sat me down one day for a coffee. And this is where, guys, most important thing I'll ever say is information changes the situation. He looked at me and he said, Jeff, I've worked with you for the last 3 years. And over the last 3 years, no matter what job you had, position you had, title you had, responsibilities you had, you always do the same thing. I find that you're always trying to motivate people and you're always trying to teach them little tips and tricks to be better. Why don't you just do that? I said, well, you don't get paid to do that. He said, no. Listen, there's a whole career called motivational speaking. And that one conversation, that one piece of enlightenment is, in fact, what got me here. It's what has me on the radio talking to you, is that one conversation with a mentor. So mentors are phenomenal tools of knowledge, access, resources, experience, exposure. And on top of all of that, a good mentor will very often also add to you a certain level of credibility. When you work with senior people or when you get mentorship from seniors in an industry, an activity, a league, and they say, I give John my stamp of approval, I give Jane my stamp of approval, it automatically provides an opportunity for you to excel. It provides an opportunity for you to reach that next level in life. It provides an opportunity for you to fast track your career where it is you want to go. So we're going to definitely be diving into all of Chris's advice on this, because he's built an entire career about providing next level students, what would we call them? Prospective professionals with an opportunity for career development as well as professional mentorship. But before we bring on Chris, we need to go to our poll question, which was sent out via social media, which is really asking, how has mentorship enhanced your growth and your path to success? And we got a couple of interesting answers. One person, just like myself, said that mentorship is what actually introduced them to the career they're now on. That they had no knowledge of it, they had no prior experience with it, they had no information about it, and a mentor opened up the career that they now have. Another individual messaged us and said that they knew what they wanted to do. And, I messaged them back and we got some details. They knew what they wanted to do and they knew it was going to be law. So they got with a firm, pretty small firm. And what they said is that in the firm, they got a mentor. And in a matter of about 5 to 6 years, they were able to step away from that firm because of the mentorship that they got, because of the guidance they got, because of the access to resources that they got, because of the standard they were introduced to. They were able to step away from that firm and start their own firm. And I'm here to tell you, they were willing to share with me, and I'm sharing it with you, that in just 3 months, they made what was their annual salary prior. That's the power of mentorship. People can open doors for you which you didn't even know were closed. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a deep dive into this conversation on mentorship, but we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to Mr. Christopherson Nunez, and he's going to share a lot with us on the power of mentorship. We'll be right back. And we're back with Levels and Medz on the Bridge 99 FM with me, your host, Jeffrey Azan. Remember, you can watch what's happening behind the scenes at thebridge99fm.com, or if you're on the move, you can download our mobile app in the Android Play Store or Apple App Store. Simply search thebridge99fm.com. And for those of you who actually follow me directly, I'm giving you guys a sneak peek via IG Live. So if you're listening and you want to jump in there, feel free. Folks, we're talking about achieving professional success through mentorship. I shared a little bit of my tidbits. I shared a little bit of the polls. I shared my personal experience. But now we're going to be talking to a man who has more or less made an entire career from this small concept of leadership. We're talking with, and this is somebody who has probably as many titles as me, the creative entrepreneur, the career coach, the CEO, and the founder of the University College Ambassadors, more popularly known UCA, Mr. Christopherson Nunez, aka, and this is my favorite one, aka Purple Cow Chris. So we're definitely going to have a long conversation about that. Chris.
Hey Jeffrey, all is well, how you doing?
I'm well. Folks, I don't know who that person is on camera. Last time I saw him, he was a well-groomed individual. But, we're happy to have Chris on the show. Sir Chris.
Yes, Jeffrey, all is well?
All is well. Happy to have you. So I'm delighted that you have joined us on the show, that you're here as one of the guests, really coming to, drop the enlightenment on the people on how mentorship has benefited and improved your life.
Definitely.
Awesome.
Well, I'm ready. So, I agree earlier on what you said, fast track your career. So, it's like a cheat code for any career you're looking to tap into. Let's say you've never done like AI right now. The best way to get into AI is find a mentor who does AI. They can almost data dump what they've done on all these years to you. Share their mistakes and things like that. But that's just one example. But I do agree with you.
Love that. So, Chris, before we get into the insights that I know you have to share with us on mentorship, I have to ask a question, and I know this is part of the Chris brand. Tell the people about Purple Cow Chris. Where does Purple Cow Chris come from?
Sure. So, funny enough, it's from a book. It's from a book called Purple Cow by Seth Godin. He's a marketer, author, entrepreneur as well. And based off his philosophy of being a purple cow, standing out, giving service, and just trying to be yourself or be original. It's similar to your personal brand. I feel like it was just so close to home. I adopted the name. I adopted the concept as my own brand. And the rest is history. Funny enough, it was a gift from a friend. They said, "Hey, Chris, I feel like this book is ideal for you." I didn't know about the author before then. And then after that, I think I've got all his books, whether free, whether online. But it's more so somebody seeing something in me that they've read and they say, "Hey, this is a perfect example or concept of what you're trying to do."
Right away, many of us would call that friendship, but you could also call that like lateral mentorship, where somebody sees it, they recognize it, they say this is going to enhance you, and so they make that investment into you.
Yeah, facts.
Love that. All right, Sir Chris, I met you many, many moons ago. I think at this point it's probably, I don't even know how many years ago. And we met.
I think it was like 2013,
2013. All right, guys. So see, I know Chris a long time. And when I met Chris was, you were an intern or you were a worker with IPP at the time?
I was an intern. So I was an intern with IPP, yeah.
Yeah, so he was still fresh in university. He was experiencing the power of internship. I had just gotten into my own field of training and teaching. And IPP, for those of you who don't know, it's Pixel Perfect. a very powerful digital marketing company. They invited me, hey, we have some interns, come do this training, and I met Chris there. And I think it's from way back 2013. Chris was about this, how do I stand out, how do I get more information? And it's one thing that I'd say about Chris from 2013 to present is that he is a devourer, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, of information. He looks for the guidance, he looks for the coaching, he looks for the individuals, and it's somebody who's really embodied. Others can open doors for me, others can give me the guidance, others can point me in the direction. At least that's what I've observed of Chris over the years. But Chris, I would love for you to share with the people your first mentorship experience. Where did your first official mentorship experience begin?
My first official mentorship experience. Wow. I would say 8th grade. 8th grade, in the sense that it was my first summer job, and my mom dropped me off at this security firm, right? She said, hey, she's a friend. My son needs a summer job and everything. And I was just doing papers, but I didn't want to do papers. I want to know how you own the business. You know, I want to know who paid these guys to own the business. So I always ask the security, when is the CEO coming in? And she's like, she don't know based off his schedule. Is very busy. Until one day I lay with him and I had a question and I just asked him questions, right, when he was driving out. And he said, jump in the car and talk to me about this. Eventually that car ride became a whole meeting from the office dropping me home, and I just asked questions. He asked me questions in terms of what I want to do and things like that. But I realized if the person who have done it, they've done it, I've asked questions, I've reached out. Sometimes the fear of asking or the fear of thinking you're looking stupid or embarrassed stopped a lot of persons. You know, I feel like I've jumped over that. I just want to know. I don't care if you tell me no. I don't care if you tell me that. I just want to know. And I want to pierce and figure out deeper into what has been going on, you know, how they've done it in terms of raise capital, how they manage stress, how they manage, you know, a family life, you know, how they manage regular things like you have so much money, how you manage not being targeted, right? I have relatively let's say at the time like a PSP and I got robbed, but this man has so many things and he feels safe. So thinking from a perspective of growing up, and eventually became a personal thing, you know, in terms of how does he handle relationships, right? He's married, and I always want to figure out how to align myself in that type of space. So it's really just asking, and I just pull on the thread, and the rest was history.
You know, you raise an excellent point there, and I'm going to quote Tony Robbins here. Tony says, if you want a better future, ask a better question. And I think that for me is one of the biggest takeaways when it comes to mentorship, which you said a while ago. You got the opportunity to go into a business, and truthfully, that business was not one person, right? That business was multiple people, probably multiple managers, different levels, different tiers. And at that point, you had an infinite amount of questions in front of you. You could have asked somebody how to do the job better. You could have asked somebody, how do I grow in the company? You could have asked somebody, how do I grow in the industry? And you jumped over all of that. You went straight to, how do I own the business?
Yeah, like I want to know what does it take to be an entrepreneur? You know, I've seen movies, but I want to know what the Jamaican version of being an entrepreneur.
Right. And so you asked the right question, and because you asked the right question, you got the right answer. And as you said, that then opened up a door for mentorship. So if we're to give the people a pointer, the first pointer that I want to really take home for them, it would be, what questions do you want answered? I think that leads to where you said.
And the questions is, don't feel like you're asking stupid questions, right? Ask it, and then sometimes somebody will help you to say, do you mean this instead?
Right.
But just starting somewhere is just to build momentum is good.
There you go.
Just a start. So just start to ask questions, to reach out. Maybe you want to have a contact with them. Maybe you want to pick their brain. Maybe you want to even assist them on a project just because you want to shadow how they learn. That approach is very valuable.
And this is
assisting.
And just to make it clear, this is not you walked up to him and said, hey, you mentor me. You simply started with the questions.
Yeah. At the time, I didn't understand what was mentorship. I knew from an informal standpoint, mentorship is like a big brother, big sister type of thing where they guide you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I just wanted to know, be naive, like how can I run a business,
Right, right,
right?
right.
I didn't thought of mentorship until like after, you're getting older person and talking about the mentorship and the buzzwords going around. We kind of put two and two together. But nonetheless, mentorship didn't cross my mind.
Got you, got you. So, folks, first three takeaways. It's a three-step process. Know your questions. Don't be afraid to ask them. And I'll use what Chris said. After you ask the first question, keep pulling on the thread because you're never sure where that thread is going to take you. As you said, you started off asking about business. As the relationship grew, you then started asking about security. And then from security, you started asking about family and how to manage a relationship and how to be, I guess, a husband and a father. And the list goes on. All that stuff. But it started with knowing the first set of questions Chris wanted answered and then not being afraid to ask those first set of questions. So that's definitely step one of mentorship.
Yeah.
All right.
And then mentorship is not a one-shot thing. It's really a relationship. It's ongoing. So it may be mentorship, and to them, they're just helping a one youth, helping with these resources.
Mm-hmm.
But it don't have to be labeled as a mentorship. But by the very nature of it, it's mentorship.
I got that. So before we go to commercial break, 'cause we have a few minutes till commercial, and I know you're a man of many words. Who are some of the mentors that, if you can share, because I know sometimes people don't really like to publicize their relationships. Who are some of the mentors that over the years you've acquired that you think have opened doors for you in business?
Oh, there's a lot. So if I don't call a name, please don't vex with me. But I would say you, of course, Jeffrey. Conrad Matheson from IPP. Kibo Magan, my current business partner. Marvin Lawrence, my business partner in the past. In high school, Jason McKay, the security owner, I was mentioning about, Stacy and Wilson from ICD Group. And there's so much, really.
So
Tika Samuda from Red Stripe.
I could have make you go on all day.
All day.
So the thing is, again, it's not one mentor. People have this concept that mentorship is this holier than thou upon the mountain, and that's that one person that I go to for everything. That's that one person who I get the advice and the guidance and the knowledge from. But you're really painting it that, listen, you get information from everyone, multiple sources, multiple mentors.
And here's the thing, Jeffrey, whether they're dead or alive, some persons wrote books about their story.
Mentorship from beyond the grave.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about some of your transitioning from mentee to mentorship and how that has spun into the career that you now have. All right?
Sure, definitely.
So, quick commercial break, and we'll be back. And we're back on the Bridge 99 FM with me, your host, Jeffrey Azan, on Levels and Medz. And ladies and gentlemen, we're having a phenomenal conversation with the great Sir Christopherson Nunez as we talk about achieving professional success through mentorship. So we were talking about Chris's early experiences with mentorship, and we want to dive into now that professional aspect of it. So Chris, in your journey of being mentored, and I'm guessing that you've passed on that mentorship, how did mentorship help you establish your current business? Was there an individual or was it an amalgamation of lessons? What exactly did mentorship play in establishing your current business?
Started off as opening doors, right? Fine-tuning the idea and seeing opportunity that I didn't see that was able to be monetized, right? Or be able to make a money from. I was just doing it or just being myself in terms of connecting my friends with opportunities, sharing what I see as different companies posting on internship programs that I realized my friends in school didn't know about. So I became that middleman. Like, Chris, how you know about this thing? What's going on? Like, what kind of professional development workshops I have been attending that Pegasus have become? So it became one thing, and it became a snowball effect in terms of the business where it is. So I guess the rest is history. So my current mentor is my business partner, Kibo Magan. So we started it based off helping connecting students to jobs. and then became no more than just jobs, than a career. Like how can we tap into different growing industries like carnival, like fintech, like AI, but of course supporting our candidates in traditional or other fields, right? So we built out a whole career support center with resumes, cover letters, LinkedIn, career coaches, and then we have a whole, I would say, entertainment side that persons who want to build their own business in entertainment, right? So, for example, we've had persons who come to us at UCA, didn't know anything, started a skill in draping, and now have a draping business.
Hmm.
Um, and the thing is, they've never learned about draping, but they've been around. I would say the event planning workshops we've been at. We've been around events that, whether weddings or I would say high class events like a Frenchman, and they realized there was a need, right? Or somebody was there that needed assistance, like other draper, and he reached out and said, "Hey, how can I help?" Literally, and that person invited him in on other events, paid him for his time and thing, and became a thing where he now started his own business. So it's more so finding the nuggets in spaces that they're not usually in, and that's where you say come into place. We're trying to foster an environment where students can find mentors on their own. Like we just bring the environment, we just bring them to space, and they do the work. So we're not trying to connect it directly. We can nudge you,
Mm-hmm.
but we put in an environment where you have the conversations, you build the relationships. And some of these environments are things that could be one-off events. There could be a mentorship program we've done in the past in different corporate companies that's rotational, meaning that a candidate could spend 3 months at, let's say, Grace, the next 3 months at Scotia, next 3 months at the Bridge, and it
Mm-hmm.
becomes a whole holistic, I would say, career experience for them. Um, but nonetheless, we at UC try to foster an environment for growth, right? And by just sharing opportunities.
So there's so much you dropped a while ago, so many nuggets. So I kind of want to recap a lot of what you said. So when we spoke about business, well, I had Natalie Murray on the show last week, and we're talking about how to create a business, and we're saying that the key thing to any business is understanding whatever problem that they are addressing and understanding the solution that they provide. But you're saying that your business was birthed more or less from an organic connection in the industry where people had problems, you were solving them, and you recognized that there was enough problems or people didn't know who to go to or they weren't sure what to
Yeah,
connect to, and you became a connector, and that connector facilitating role over time naturally grew into a business on its own.
pretty much.
So you, you
Um,
you didn't look for a problem to solve. You were just solving problems, and you kind
yeah,
of found a common thread between all of them.
no, pretty much. Because at the time as a university student, I had the misconception that, coming on the space, they're going to be like a lot of part-time jobs. I could go to classes and then earn on the side. And then when I came, it wasn't like that.
Mm.
I thought something like that was available based off, mass media and things like that.
Hmm.
Then I realized it's it's similar, but you have to be a promo girl, you know. And I was a
So,
guy,
so that,
so
that was, I was about to be like, was that the first role, Chris, or were you the
no,
promo
no.
girl?
So I had to find ways. So I had to figure out what was my way of earning as a student, right? So
Mm.
I reached out to event companies, I reached out to brands in terms of being an intern. Granted, I got a lot of no's. A lot of them didn't reply, but I used that as a way. I just wanted a foot in, just to
Mm-hmm.
learn. Why,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, earn while I was going to school. Um, and eventually it became me just connecting with people, like I said. So, for example, I remember I get a call from Courts. I would say a leadership on the Hall of Residence I lived on at the time, and we were
Mm-hmm.
hosting an event. And Courts said, "Hey, Chris, we just wanted 10 students painted in silver, like the Silver Surfer, for an expo.
Uh-huh.
I will pay them $5,000 each, right? And I give you year cut."
Mm-hmm.
And I never know that was a business at the time. I literally just find 5 friends on my block and I
Mm-hmm.
ask them, "Yo, you guys want to get paid just to be painted silver?" And they ask how much, and I say, "Yeah, man, let's go." I would just charter a taxi to the event, and they sprayed paint us, and then that's it. So it's like finding, I would say, odd jobs or informal jobs like that
Right,
that kind
right,
of
right.
snowball it.
And it snowballed into
Um,
what it is. But you got those connections based on our previous conversation before the break. You got those connections from the mentorship relationships that you had established. So
yeah,
the NCB wouldn't be calling you, or I think it was NCB you said a while ago. My brain.
of course.
Courts. So courts
Yeah.
called you, But I'm guessing you didn't, of course, didn't just know Chris like, oh, let's just.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember being there at one of their workshops, and I guess me introducing myself to the marketing manager and things like that. So I always try to go these workshops. They tend to be free, and they tend to have free food as a student. I find that valuable.
There you go. There you go. There you go. You're on that ramen budget.
Yeah.
All right. So you build the connections. The connections flowed back to you as a facilitator. You begin building this brand as a facilitator, and then you say, hey, let's build a business out of this. And since then, UCA has put, I can't even count how many students into these work programs, into these connections, into these facilitating roles, where those students now leave university with not just their degree, but the almighty question of how much years of experience do you have, which is always that, roadblock for a lot of students who worked hard.
And sometimes they just need the confidence to share, right? So working or being in our environment, they develop confidence. They develop that the world is not so black and white. They develop that people depend on their jobs. It's their livelihood. They've learned, I would say, proper professional etiquette. Being on time, how to communicate, and if you're late, how you communicate, things like that. And then just general personal hygiene in a business space helps. A lot of students or a lot of young professionals may be disconnected in that space. I would try to just nudge them in the right direction.
So you would say that UCA is a professional mentorship company, if I wanted to call it anything?
I would say yes or no, but I would yeah.
You see how we can make that leap. We can make that leap for sure. Are there any individuals that you are mentoring directly right now? Is there anybody who you're mentoring directly? And if so, what's that experience like for you, being not just facilitating the mentorship, but being the mentor yourself after all these years of people pouring into you?
Well, I think naturally I'm the mentor to anybody who signs up for UCA, because they tend to just ask me questions and book consultations.
Right.
So I'm never to say, hey, I'm not busy or I can't accommodate. I just try to have boundaries and accommodate where I can, right?
Right.
However, I've learned that everybody have different, goals. They tend to have the same roadblock. In terms of, it's like a fear, like they don't know what's the next step. They don't know what to do. We're having a conversation and like, hey, they know what to do, but they don't know why they're not doing it, right? And to them, it's more so, I realize it's like building a community, like it's more of encouragement. They know the answers, they know the technical know-how, they know it, but is putting it in action is where I've realized most of them fall short. They know that, companies are hiring summer. That means that, send out the resumes from now. You don't wait till July to get a summer job. Right? And then when July comes, oh, Chris, I forgot to send out my resumes. Can you help me get a summer job? And I can't help you now. Everybody's been employed. Now they're looking at Christmas jobs.
Gotcha.
So, and even from a technical know-how, they know their craft. They know how to build a website. They've studied at a school. They know how to, whatever technical area, they know how to do it. It's just that when they get to the project, they fumble or they question themselves, and it becomes more of they taught themselves out of it before they even finish.
Do you have any direct advice? So there's somebody listening right now and they feel equipped, they're ready to go, and they're feeling all that you just said. They're feeling that hold back. They're not ready to act. Is there a piece of advice that you'd give that person?
I say 3 words: you are enough.
Talk to us quickly on that. You are enough. Talk to us.
No, you are enough. Like a lot of times we try to seek out additional advice, because I can speak from my experience. I was always looking for that next piece of advice to be successful, that next piece. Then I realized that at the end of the day, I would have to take action, right? At the end of the day, I would have to send that email. I would have to send that invoice. I would have to be in that meeting to negotiate. I would have to be the one to hire or fire. I would have to be the one. As much as I can read so many books and talk to so many people and read so many podcasts,
right,
at the end of the day, I would have to do it. So therefore, I'm enough. Right? And as such, everybody's enough in their own way.
Powerful. We're going to take a quick commercial break, Chris, and then we'll come back. Final thoughts.
All right.
You are tuned in to the Levels and Meds here on the Bridge 99 FM with me, your host, Jeffrey Azan. Remember, if you want to see what's happening in the studio, you can check out our live stream at thebridge99fm.com, or if you're on the move, you can download our mobile app in the Android Play Store or Apple App Store by simply searching The Bridge 99 FM, all one word. You can also join the conversation by jumping on our WhatsApp line at 876-551-5782, or call into studio and join us on air at 876-676-4996. Today on Levels of Medz, we've been talking with Mr. Christopherson Nunes, founder and career coach with UCA, University College Ambassadors. Fantastic program that enables students to get work experience while still in school. Longtime friend and definitely huge advocate for mentorship and the power of mentorship. In our first segment in talking with Chris dropped the 3 key elements to really beginning that mentorship relationship, which is in yourself, have the questions you want answered. 2, don't be afraid to ask the questions. And 3, when you find somebody willing to answer the questions, pull on the thread. You never know where that's going to lead you. You never know what kind of nuggets, what kind of gems that individual is going to share with you. Then as you start to build those mentorship relationships, it's not one mentor, it's multiple mentors. There's a lot of them. Different mentors for different areas. And those relationships can form the base, the network, the natural resource that can become your business, like what happened with Chris, where Chris took his networks, the networks became facilitation options, and from there he built a business around connecting people. Before we go, I want Chris to kind of give us his last thoughts on mentorship. What's one thing the people need to know about getting a mentor and becoming a mentor? Sir Christopherson Nunes.
So it's like a philosophical question, Jeffrey. It's passing on the button to passing on the button to passing on the button, right? So for our mentors to teach us something, they've learned it from somebody, right? And they are teaching it to somebody else, and we're teaching it to somebody else. It's almost passing on the essence of life, of wanting to progress, of wanting to drive our ambition. And I like this phrase, it's like standing on the shoulders of giants. So you're almost looking over what the mistakes they've done, but eventually somebody will stand on their shoulder. It's not a bad thing to do, just part of life. Right. And I'm willing to always share resources and share things with the youngsters. I feel old saying that. Wow. But it's really, I would say, part of our purpose, For example, we always complain about education system in Jamaica, knowing that what I'm going through, I can almost think of ideas and solutions in the next generation coming up, learning from my mistakes or learning from my inability to take action and things like that, right? For example, one of my main goals was to be a track athlete. I did track in high school. And I always look up to the seniors in terms of advice, and funny enough, other seniors from other schools as well from advice. And one of the main things was, how can I transition from an athlete to get a scholarship to do abroad? I don't know that full process, but I know friends that have done that full process that could connect you with. So sometimes your mentors don't know the full knowledge, but they can connect you with their friends from high school, or their network of people that have the better answers. So your mentor may have some form of clue, but they can point in the right direction as well, hence opening doors for you.
So 2 things I definitely got from that, and summarize it for the people. One is that you have to be naturally curious. You have to want the answers. Nobody's going to come and say, hey, I read your mind and I know what you want, so here it is. Go forth with this thing. So you have to know the questions you want. You have to have that natural curiosity. You have to want to go ahead. But then the second one is, and I'm going to summarize all that Chris said into simply this, you have to have a mindset of legacy. You have to be willing to be the base that someone else can stand on. You have to be the giant whose shoulders someone else can stand on so that they can see further. So definitely some powerful tips. Chris, where can the people find you?
I'm always on Twitter, so it's at Purple Cow Chris with a K, and the same name for Instagram as well.
All right, so folks, go and chat up, go and follow Sir Purple Cow Chris. Chris, thank you so much for being a part of the show. I'm sure we're going to connect, and we're going to have plenty more to talk about as days turn to months, turn to weeks, turn to years, etc.,
Yes.
etc.
Thanks again, Jeffrey, for the invitation.
Thanks, Chris. All right, folks, as we close out, I want to give you guys a thought. Now, of course, shameless self-plug. This is from my first book, Self-Discussions, Weekly Lessons from Life. But this one really jumped out at me when we were talking about this concept of mentorship. And it's called One Man Job, Team Effort. And it says, real change is a tricky concept. You see the mental switch from victim to victor, from warrior to warrior, from lack to abundance. It's all a one-man job. Only you can do it for you. But the journey, the struggle, the heartache, the challenges, the seemingly impossible to overcome is a team effort. Now, if that doesn't sum up mentorship, I don't know what does. Folks, this has been a phenomenal episode. All of the tidbits on Levels and Meds. Remember, you are tuned in to the Bridge 99 FM. Levels and Meds is every Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. as we tackle personal and professional development topics, and we speak to industry experts and get their insights into how we can do more, how we can do better, how we can continue to develop ourselves and reach that next level in thinking and living. Before I go, I want to give a big shout out and thank you to my producer, Dominique Mitchell. She's not feeling great today, but she did a fantastic job putting all of this together, connecting us with everybody. Big shout out to Marco, always a big support, and our superb engineer, Sir Pete John. Thank you all. And to the Bridge fam, this has been a pleasure. Continue to be a part of Levels and Meds as we search for that next level living and next level thinking. Untangle is coming up next with Mama Elise Kelly. Until next time, have a great day and don't stop leveling up.